This presentation is about swords of iron, connecting between collective psychology and national policy. What is the purpose of the war? Will it succeed in fulfilling it? How will this devastating war end? To glimpse the future, let's look back to history and recognize repeating patterns. Does this sound familiar? 9/11, a surprise mega attack. Panic and rage sweep through America. Fearing that vulnerability invites more attacks, people refuse to feel helpless. They must do something, anything, to feel in control. Politicians, attuned to that emotion, tell stories about weapons of mass destruction. Wars are launched in Iraq and Afghanistan, targeting leaders, regimes, infrastructure. Bin Laden and Saddam are killed. Then what? The Taliban falls and rises back. Saddam's regime collapses, replaced by ISIS. A new tower stands where the old ones fell. The cost, $1 trillion and thousands of lives. Back to status quo, it's quiet. For now. But is America safer? Was it worth it? This cycle of attack, anxiety, counterattack, and back to status quo has been recorded for many years. It's a basic human phenomenon, as old as the Bible. The plague of the firstborn, Pharaoh's campaign ending at the bottom of the sea, and Egypt survives. Why do superpowers make rash decisions? Why don't they seem to plan ahead? Why don't they learn from experience? Was Pharaoh, like Americans, terrified of exposing weakness? Were they desperate to feel control? Psychologically, the failure to see the limits of one's power is called the illusion of omnipotence. Great powers are especially vulnerable to it. What about Israel? Here's the long list of counterattacks before October 7th, each promising long-term security, each ending in exhaustion, a familiar deal and truce, with both sides claiming victory. And swords of iron? Will it finish the job as some Israelis desire? Will it be the war to end all wars? Or will it repeat the cycle and end in exhaustion and a truce? Will it be another caste-led, but on a grander scale? Are we trapped in patterns? A segment of this study, published in July of 2024, proposed 6 possible scenarios for the war. First, decisive victory, as promised. But then, who governs Gaza? What happens after the war? Second, the Afghan scenario. Hamas falls, then rises again. Third, the Iraqi. Hamas is replaced by another movement, perhaps even worse. Fourth, the Pharaoh. Disaster, burnout, financial ruin, fighting conditions favor Hamas. We'll get back to that. Fifth, repetition of previous campaigns, ending as usual with a truce. Sixth, the West Bank is raged by Israeli actions and joins Hamas. Were these scenarios considered? Were contingency plans drawn? Cabinet records show the war began without agreed-upon goals, neither destroying Hamas nor others. So what exactly is the plan? A year after the article came out, another segment of the study was published, an interim summary of the war. The West Bank is relatively calm, raising optimism about future negotiations. Hamas is damaged, but not defeated. In Gaza, devastation, countless innocents killed. In Israel, over 900 soldiers dead, tens of thousands wounded, traumatized, and bereaved. Estimated financial loss, 200 billion shekels. International isolation deepens. To address a painful issue, with over 60 soldiers' suicides, hundreds dead by crossfire and by accidents. The exact number undisclosed by Israel officials. Are we sending our boys to kill one another? Looking back, in Iraq and Afghanistan, how many hundreds of American soldiers were killed by American soldiers? Cross time, Egypt, America, Israel, a similar psychosystemic pattern emerges. Rage and anxiety, denial of helplessness, and fantasies of decisive victory, reflecting illusions of omnipotence. Politicians may exploit these feelings, launching wars that serve their own interests. And what if Hamas understood the pattern? The 2024 article warned that swords of iron might actually serve Hamas's interests. October 7th left Hamas weak. The devious massacre succeeded through surprise and years of planning. Resources Hamas no longer had. Hamas also lost many men on October 7th. Thus, the study anticipated that Hamas could not harm Israel unless Israel attacks. Guerrilla warfare within the home territory of Gaza is favorable for Hamas and would allow it to inflict far greater losses upon the IDF. Did Hamas lure Israel into a trap? Is Swords of Iron the second act of its leader's plan? Perhaps Hamas never expected such a massive Israeli counterattack, yet its refusal to surrender shows its willingness to sacrifice. By fighting in Gaza, are we just extras following a script written for us by Hamas? Back to the question, what are the real merits of this war? Do they justify its costs? No clear plan has been shared with the Israeli public or with the world. Without knowing the plan, how can we measure its success? Seen systemically, the issue runs deeper than politicians. It reveals a pattern of civic irresponsibility. Do we blindly trust our boys' lives in the hands of politicians with fewer questions and less research than when we buy a new washing machine? This report is part of a broader psychosystemic essay on Israel in the aftermath of October 7th. Other systemic reports offer valuable data and insight, but tend to overlook collective psychology, thus ignoring important resistances to change and possible methods to address them. They speak of policies and budgets in formal language that is not adequately accessible to the public. Communication of reports and strategy is essential in order to mobilize the public and facilitate change. On the academic front, political psychology is a rising field, yet the voice of industrial organizational psychology is still rarely heard. Despite its tools for understanding people and systems and practical consultancy experience, this study is an psychological report on Israel. It seeks to connect the dots, leaders, communities, institutions, and policies, and integrate all major national issues. In terms of adaptive leadership theory, the study steps onto the balcony to draw the big picture, or in other words, to see the forest for the trees. Here are the sections already published, and those yet to come. Forming the foundation for strategic recommendations for Israel. As academics and professionals, we must raise awareness of collective anxieties and fantasies so they could be addressed sensitively. We must also teach how real, sustainable change occurs through steady, joint effort over years and decades. This knowledge can help society assume civic responsibility. For Israeli society, the hardest question may be, are we willing to change to save the country and our children? Finally, let us learn from this remarkable woman. While many Israelis now see all Palestinians as terrorists, she saw terrorists as human beings. Her courage shows that even in the darkest times, we may not be omnipotent, but we are certainly not powerless. When military strength fails, our strongest weapon may just be psychologically informed conduct. Thank you for listening.